All right, I'm coming here today on following a theme that I had last week with the ALC is I'm gonna present stuff to get you guys to think critically about your business. Okay? And if I help you think critically about your business, it'll hopefully spur some thoughts and ideas around what it is that you want to do, how you want to approach your business. One sec while I just mute somebody. And so I'm going to give you the vision speech that was 2.5 hours long, compressed into 20 minutes with all of my notes and all of my data and the things I would be thinking about in order to help you build and scale a big business. Cool. All right. With that, Dana's going to kick it off though, because we have a few things up front and then I'll take it over.
Yeah, so as always, guys, we're going to start off with our mission, vision, value, our Y4C2Ts. Can someone tell me why we win-win? Why does it matter? Alex?
Why do we win-win?
Yeah, why is win-win important?
All we do is win.
It's in the song.
Yeah, we're all in on it for a lifetime.
Why is integrity important, Josh?
Oh, what I mean,
Yeah.
what was I?
Why is integrity important?
So, why is integrity important? I don't have integrity.
Yes, you do.
Integrity is important so that everybody wins.
Oh.
All right, y'all are killing me this
It's a circle of
morning.
life,
Yeah. All right.
and it moves us all.
We're gonna work on the Y4C2Ts in here. Clearly, you guys need to show up to homegrown cappers. Yeah, that's all right. We'll get you there. We'll get you there. Obviously, God, family, then business, and our perspective. So we just want to make sure that you guys know your Y4C2Ts and all of our mission, visions, and values. So we will definitely be going through these more. So yeah, go ahead.
I'll actually touch on this. Or is Tina here? I haven't seen her, but
No, she's not here.
okay, so quick raise of hands because I like game shows and this group is very engaging with me. I want to win. How many of you have a relationship with Cindy Coos? Cindy. Okay. How many of you love Cindy? Cindy was one of the original compliance brokers in this office who, for those of you who don't know Cindy, Cindy's been battling ALS for the last several years. And you know what? To her credit, she's been fucking battling. Because a lot of people who get ALS, it can take a lot from you very quickly. And her and Brian have been traveling all over the country, I think maybe even all over the world, to get stem cell treatments and been very progressive in trying to help prolong Cindy's battle. As a group collectively, I got to give this group a ton of credit. This group's really leaned into helping Cindy. Whether it was the golf outing several years ago that then Scott got into a bidding war with, to
Still have nightmares over that. $100.
Scott wrote a check that he was worried about it, but we can't. Okay. I've been there before. You get excited in an auction, you're like, wait, shit, what did I just do?
I got degenerates in my ear, like, you don't let Jeff Benson beat you. I'm like, no.
No, and you know what? That raised a ton of money to the fact, I think I've shared this with this group. We went and got a grant through KW Cares and they awarded her the largest grant that they will give out. And yet the need is still there to continue to support them. So there's a group of folks hosting a night out to honor Cindy and her fight against ALS on April 19th at 5 p.m. at the Polish Center of Wisconsin.
50,000 is the goal.
50,000 is the goal.
Yeah, Mari was here last week to talk about it.
So, again, this is if you want to participate, want to give back to Cindy and her family. Would love to have as much participation as we can, and like supporting those who support us for such a long time. And Cindy and Brian have been great members of our community. So, yeah.
So we talked about this last week, guys. If you guys need any help, Lindsay's actually working on a template. I know several of you guys went up to them and were wanting the template already created so you can put it on the back of your open house flyers. So they will get the template done this week, so that you can put on there that you guys are taking up donations for those gift bags that are gonna go out to the homeless. So if you guys have any questions, Lindsay is working on that for you guys, but just want to push out there, or if you have any of these items to donate.
I also was talking with someone, named Tanika, about making like a trifold, for the open houses, because I know some people door knock. And it'd be easy to have the address, open it, have what we need, and then you can put like your own logo and everything on the back, so.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. All right, bucket fills. And for those of you that are new to the room, again, a bucket fill is simply that, just filling someone's bucket by saying thank you for maybe something they did, a lending hand, helped you out, did something kind.
Crew that put together the award banquet.
Yes. Yeah.
Seamless, a lot of fun, really well organized. Thank you for putting that together.
Awesome. Love that.
Food was great. I'd never been to Maddie's before.
Finger food was perfect. I felt like.
Lots of meatball.
Yes.
I've never been.
I think it would be a great location for an agent night out outside once the weather gets nice,
Oh, that'd be cool.
right? Yeah, everybody agrees, yes.
I'm in.
We'll make it happen. We'll get vendors, we'll make it happen.
Your St. Patty's Day, or yeah, St. Patrick's Day is insane.
Is it? That's 2 weeks
outside.
away. You're just giving me this
Yeah.
notice?
You can't, I mean, it's amazing.
Okay.
You will have to park across the street.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a cool spot.
We cleaned up some Girl Scout food.
There's
No
been drunk
shame.
some cookies.
Sammy, we're gonna be number one. The way you do it is you go fish at Maddie's on St. Patty's
That's
Day.
actually pretty smart. I love it. Anybody else bucket fills?
Yep, I have 2 bucket fills. I just want to say thanks to the Smiths for bringing that pizza last week.
Yes.
It was
It's
awesome.
actually the next slide.
Oh, yep. And I just want to say thanks to Charlie. We had our ALC kickoff last week and like, boom, it was amazing. And I know a lot of work goes into that, and I know that we were joking around about last names on Facebook and all that stuff, but it was really incredible. And I thank you for just taking the time to like plan it, prep it, and like pour into your top 20%. It was
Yeah.
really good.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome. Tony?
I would like to thank all of the agents who were at family reunion. We didn't have a chance last week to really, touch on that,
I
but.
did.
She did.
Oh, did
You
you?
weren't in the room, but she did.
That's right. But thank you for everyone that was there, and specifically, thank you to everybody that came to my panel. It's a little nerve-wracking to be speaking in front of a bunch of top producing agents, and I was on a panel with some very heavy hitters, and it can be intimidating, and seeing all of your amazing, bright shining faces really helped to give me confidence and comfort as I was delivering the information. So it meant the world to me. Thank you all for being there.
Love that. Anyone else? Bucket fills?
I showed up the first day when Charlie told us it was.
Just
Thanks,
like under the bus
And the second day?
in the group. You did twice.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, what? So for those that didn't go to family reunion, so we have this group chat, and every day I would say like, hey, because we had about 7 or 8 different people from Milwaukee that were speaking at different times. And so I always wanted to, there were about 50 of us from the Milwaukee area. Hey, Rick Rubin speaking here, Stephanie Minnick speaking here. And every morning, it must be Vegas because I just didn't know what day it was. I was like, Tony's speaking today. And it was like 2:45.
Yeah.
And then he's like, nope, it's Thursday. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, no, today's the day. Tony's speaking. And he's like, nope, it's tomorrow. So Tony got a lot of free PR of when he was speaking. I just totally screwed up when he was speaking.
It was
All
awesome.
publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
All right.
cool.
But yeah, thank you for everyone too that shared. I know Brooke had created a social media post around the pizza place. So thank you for everyone that shared that. I know Alex, you guys shared it. I saw several of you sharing it. The pizza was really good, and it was a really good cause that they came out and did that for. So thank you again for the Smith team for setting that up as well. To the bagels, I know, they were supposed to get that. That was the Schmidt group for bagels.
Cool.
All right, we have congratulations to Jeremy Morse for his first closing. The way to go.
Marika Harris for her
Yes,
first listing and closing. Marisha, sorry. Cool. All right. Let's talk about announcement yesterday, shall we? Look, I sent a note at I think like 11 o'clock yesterday. I'll tell you exactly what I know and what I knew and where I think it's going. And again, these opinions are with a caveat of a full disclaimer that they're my own personal opinions. I have no insider intel. I have nothing about what's going on. There's been rumors of this for years. It's been no secret. KW created KWX as a way to go IPO, and then the IPO market absolutely went to nothing the last 2 years, which has been, if you followed along to any of the transitions, Carl Liebert left, and they realized that that wasn't the place to go. And if you look across the brokerage landscape nationally, 95% of all brokerages with scale is important. And it could be higher, it could be 99% with scale, are either publicly held or private equity backed. Okay. So when I heard, and we had heard this and Scott had heard this, right? Like, this is coming, this is coming. We're like, all right. Again, I only focus on what I can control. I cannot control what happens in Austin. You can't. And so I was like, all right, I'll find out when I find out. Even though I asked some tough questions in Las Vegas and some interesting meetings and I didn't get anything, but that's okay. It's not my place. So yesterday they announced Stone Point. Stone Point owns Wolf Technologies and CoreLogic. If you don't know what those companies are, they're data analytics companies that provide a lot of platforms to MLS, and then they package and repackage data to help our industry as a very broad sense. So then I started researching Stone Point. Okay. Ironically, I have a friend. Okay, real quick, last year's ALC. Remember I had a friend who came who is a Navy fighter pilot that worked in the White House that works and runs C-suite search executives? His client is Stone Point Capital. So I called him and I said, hey, what do I need to know about Stone Point? Long story short, without getting into the weeds, because last night I read through 160 pages of who Stone Point Capital is. Stone Point Capital in the last 5 years has deployed $96 billion into private equity deals. Okay. The reason why I share with you that number is this: they're not a small player. They're freaking huge. The average deal size in the last 5 years is 1.3 billion on a per deal basis of how much they've invested. So this was a big deal from a Stone Point perspective. Also on their balance sheet, they're sitting on about $6 billion in liquid capital to be deployed across their portfolio companies. Okay. At the end of the day, the way the brokerage landscape is changing is what actually benefited us for the first 30 to 40 years of our existence was being private, to be able to be nimble, quick, and not have to report to anybody. Gary could do whatever the hell he wanted to. There became a point with how the landscape had changed in the race for capital and how you deploy capital to help your agents win. Got to a point where the game became, in my opinion, the game became too expensive and there was too much risk. And so Gary looked up, again, I'm guessing here, he looked up and said, okay, I want to de-risk my company. You remember, they had to deal with the TCPA lawsuits. They had to deal with the antitrust lawsuits. They had to deal with a whole host of other things. I want to de-risk my company. He wanted to buy out some small partners like Mo Anderson and some other things to help them with estate planning. And I need access to capital that I don't have. Because if you really think about it, and I know enough to be dangerous in this space, Gary's net worth is tied up in real estate, which is illiquid, and his company, which is illiquid. So his ability to reinvest back in the business was only based on how much revenue he could generate within the business. And with the way that the industry is changing, he needed capital in order to compete. This allows him to de-risk his company and gives him access to capital to compete, and brings in a partner who's already invested in the space in parallel things that I think, quite frankly, we can utilize and leverage. The other thing about private equity, real quick show of hands, are people familiar with what private equity is? Yeah. So it's like we all throw in $100 and go buy the widget manufacturing company down the street. And then what it is private equity is there to create operational excellence, to create efficiencies in order to drive value to shareholders. Okay. Well, what private equity's main strategy to do is they buy vertically, not necessarily integrated businesses, but businesses that can rely on each other to drive more revenue. So it's actually a super smart strategic play from their standpoint is they buy the largest residential real estate brokerage in the world country. And then you vertically integrate into the spaces they already play. And you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense because this can feed this and this can feed this and this can feed this. And then they can drive outsized returns to their investors. I think it's not a bad thing at all. I think it's completely appropriate. The irony of it is I'm fully aware that many of our peers have like using it, whether it's positive or negative for us or against us. The irony is all of them who are saying anything are all backed by the same shit. It's all private equity and or publicly traded companies. So it's like the pot calling the kettle black. Remax, it's publicly traded. Compass was private equity that IPO'd that became publicly. So, you know, Shore West is the only one that can say we're still privately held. Cool. More power to them. That's a decision they made. And again, I can't control what happens to Austin. At the end of the day, I still firmly believe this. Real estate is a local business that is dependent on local associates who have local relationships that are led by local leadership. And so I share with you that to say, if we just look back at the history of change in Austin, Mark Willis, John Davis, Josh Team, Gary Keller, Carl Liebert, Gary Keller, Mark King, Mark Willis, Stone Point Capital. By the way, the red line is our market share within the market. What happens in Austin does not necessarily impact what happens here. Our job is to provide you the tools and resources to help you guys continue to win and be disruptors within the marketplace. And when we do that, you guys see outsized returns in terms of your productivity. Let me worry about Austin. Let me worry about our relationship with KW and how Stone Point plays a role. But the more digging I did, also, I forgot to mention this too. So I called my friend Jeff, who Stone Point's a client of. I also have another friend. Her name is Tara Conger. Tara owns a company called Tandem HR in Waukesha. Anybody familiar with Tandem HR? Tandem HR sold to Stone Point Capital in August of 2024. So I sent Tara a note last night and said, Tara, we should get lunch. Tell me about your relationship with Stone Point. My point being is I'll figure it out. I'll help you navigate it. And there's so much outside of our control that don't impact the localized relationships of how we all earn our income at the end of the day, which is building our reputation and helping navigate and cultivate those relationships. To me, this stuff is white noise. And when it needs to impact us, like you'll hear it from me first, just like I went yesterday when I sent the note. Cool. We'll keep you up to speed on what I know. Fair? Comments, questions, concerns? I'll give you the unplugged version of my opinions on any questions you want to ask. Yeah, Matt.
You said number one in residential, they're also number one in land.
Thank you for clarifying. Number one in land as well.
Yeah, I did see a couple comments about concerns around the data itself because they were known for selling data. To that, there was a few people from Austin that commented and said that there is a data pledge in place and that it is not affecting anything and that everything still stands the same, that your database is owned by agents for agents. And they have it protected for the long haul, so.
Yeah, at the end of the day too, I will also tell you, I know this, Gary's still the executive chairman of the board. You know, he's de-risking his company, accessing some capital, and probably, if I'm being honest, he's probably estate planning as well, because so much of his assets on his balance sheet are illiquid. And that's okay. That's his choice. It's his company. He should be able to do what he wants.
You look at like the goal of real estate being a 7th level team and like getting out and he's been doing this 42 years. So, I mean, if he's preaching millionaire real estate team and being 7th level leverage, like this is his leverage and this is his time.
Yeah. Ross, I'll go to you.
Is there any, very early, but is there any fear from franchise owners that there'll be something from Stone Point or Keller Williams kind of push down to the local level that'll force you to change your way of doing business?
You know what? We'll navigate it when we get there, but I'm not concerned. To be honest with you, it's like, as a franchisee, and this is my franchisor who had to make a decision, like, they'll make decisions that are in the best interest of their business model, and we'll make decisions based on that relationship on how we serve you effectively. And you know, I go to this and say, there've been a lot of things that Austin has said and done, and we've had to look at it and say, how does this impact our associates in Milwaukee? And we've made decisions to do certain things that are yes and certain things that are no, based on what we thought was relevant to our market. You know, what Stone Point does with it, like, I'll worry about what I can control. But I'm not overly concerned about it. And that's why I'm doing some of my due diligence of like, oh, I know people who've worked with Stone Point. Okay, what do I need to prepare myself for of how this relationship will go? And we'll navigate it. We'll figure it out.
Can I say one thing to that?
Yeah.
If I was private equity, I would be worried about getting more money for my money, right? And so if I'm looking at 800 some offices, Charlie, where do we rank in the national, like, profit wise, or like any metric? We're in the top 100, right, or close to?
Yeah, Southwest was 156 in 2024.
And what's the other combined MKE, like?
Is 12th.
12.
Yeah.
So like, my point is, they've got a lot of other things to worry about before they get to us. Like, we got a really good thing going in Milwaukee. We're doing everything right. We're at the top of our region. So if I were to like look at it and look at a balance sheet or look at everything, I would look at the ones losing the money and doing that first.
Well,
It's just where my mind goes.
to Charlie's point, these changes happened every year and it didn't affect any of you guys. I came from that region. I came from literally, we drove in every single month to Austin. It didn't change anything for us either. It was just a different person sitting at the front of the room.
Yeah. Shipley?
I was just gonna say, something was gonna happen no matter what. I know that private equity, like, the only time it ever comes up in the news is when it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, they bankrupted Toys R Us, they bankrupted this, it's like, it's private equity, it's like, they got a really bad rap, but I feel more confident about this versus an IPO. Because if there was an IPO and now we've got thousands of Wall Street shareholders voting on stuff, like that would create a change a lot quicker than. I guess what I'm saying is like, if there's a major business decision to be made, you really have to only convince a handful of people. And I feel confident in those people versus like millions of potential shareholders voting en masse to change like the profit share system or the franchise agreements or whatever else.
Yeah, okay, one little sidebar, just because I know him well enough to be able to say it, and I would say this to him anyways, but like Gary, it's Gary's world. And Gary doesn't like too much accountability. I'm probably sharing too much, but like, it's just, right? He's kind of a brash Steve Jobs of real estate. The reason I say that is because of, to Zach's point, when you go public, you have to report everything under the sun. And yes, we're an open book company, and yet there's things that you don't want the SEC digging into. So private equity makes total sense based on who Gary is and what I know of him, that like he gets access to capital, he gets access to helping him scale what he can do and plug into vertically integrated businesses that they already own. And he doesn't have all the reporting and the structures and hiring, all these things that publicly traded companies are required to do.
There's all this Wall Street scrutiny that comes with being traded on the stock market, pressure to produce every quarter, et cetera, and like, as long as Stone Point or whoever is happy, that doesn't matter if we only make $1 profit that quarter because we're investing in stuff, or if we're making billions.
Yeah, in the report I read too, it gave the latest 25 investments they made and the 25 exits they made. And each one they categorized the investments and exits as either they were in it for the revenue generating for what it can spin off to their other investments, or they were in it for the profitability and cash flow. And each of them provides different strategic reasons as to why they make investments or exits. And it's not always about the net bottom line. It was an interesting read. Yes, Sharice.
So back to the market center thing. So I've read a couple things around this since yesterday, and it was my understanding that the whole point of this was to make the market centers more profitable, and that was supposed to be like kind of like the first, action item for Gary as this whole merger happens, was like to make sure that all of the market centers are now profiting moving forward. I don't know exactly what that looks like or what that means, but I'm just relaying what like I've read. I think it's quite opposite of, I think, what everybody's thinking. I think he's, making sure that everybody is profitable in terms of all the market centers.
Yeah, again, I think it's so early to like say too much, but you gotta remember, and for those in the homegrown capper class, you'll laugh at this really quickly. In business, everything you do is around a flywheel. Okay. It's familiar last week, ladies? All right, we're just gonna use the light green one. Okay, flywheels basically how businesses look at their business model to keep revenue flowing and the activities they have to do. Okay. The flywheel of the real estate brokerage business is not much different than what Gary talked about for years. Agents are at the center of the transaction. Now, how does KW, from a revenue standpoint, consider relationships with agents? Well, one, it's company dollar and royalty. Well, okay, that's how they make their money. But what's the impetus of the first domino that has to fall in order for them to make money? Activities, which in this case would be lead generation. The lead generation leads to leads, which then leads to conversion, which leads to closings, which leads to money, and the cycle repeats itself. And so if you think about the way I think about this private equity deal is they don't make money unless people do their activities, which is now you're going to understand the KW flywheel, training and education, right? Like AKA bold, leads you to doing the activities, helps you get to leads. Leads helps you then, how do we create conversion, script practice, role play, right? I'm just giving you simplistic, basic ideas of what this would look like. That then gets to closings. Closings generate revenue, and then the flywheel starts over. And so if you think about this from a private equity play, it's like, all right, they're in the data and technology space as well as the insurance space. All right, what value can they add to the activities, the leads, conversion that ultimately lead to closings, and then closings lead to more revenue? Well, closings then create opportunities for insurance. Data leads to both leads and activity. You know, so you can very quickly see how a company like this that plays in a lot of different varieties of residential real estate can fill out their flywheel in terms of how they generate revenue. Now, I probably went way too into the weeds, and that's way more than you care, but these are the things I think about as it relates to our relationship and how it works with KW. Does that make sense, Therese?
Yeah.
There will be ancillary benefits to the relationship. It's just too early to tell how that works because at the end of the day, in order for the company to drive revenue, it has to get into business with relationships with agents. And in order to get into relationships with agents, like they need to help them do this. And when they do this really well, they'll get into business with more agents. And then, you know, you could start a whole nother flywheel of how that works, you know, so. All right, I probably nerded out on that way too long. But we talked about the same thing last week at Homegrown Cappers. About something different though. All right, cool on that? Look, as I get more, you'll get my unfiltered opinion about where this is going. And I'll keep you informed. But I think it makes total sense. Especially with the year they had last year. With the antitrust suit and the risk that it puts on a privately held company. So, cool? All right, I'll move on. I went way deeper into that than I expected I would. All right, I'm going to fly through tech and marketing and then give you the insights. Tech and marketing, couple things. You have to understand clients are coming to you for information. So all of your family reunion resources are available to you on the KW Realty MKE. We put it in the agent hub within event resources. Everything you need from one pagers to videos. Also, KW launched a website yesterday called events.kw.com, FR25 Unlocked, where you can watch a lot of the videos, such as the bold truths, the vision speech, CEO summit highlights, so on and so forth. Access to education builds the flywheel through activities. Make sense? Perfect. Second, the other thing that our clients ask us for is information and data. So Lindsay and the team has built Milwaukee market reports for you to leverage as a way to help talk about what is going on within the industry for you to leverage, set it and forget it, right? So the market reports she pulled for January, quick, simple things you can drop into your 36 touch programs through your smart plans, all available to you now, and also searchable within the smart plans of KW MKE. Sound good? Sweet. 12 direct campaigns are available now with the brewers schedule, local Milwaukee breweries, as well as the spring cleaning checklist. All of it can be sent via text, email, stickies, whatever you need, available to you now on the 12 direct campaigns.
Brewery list would be like 80 times longer.
Remember, the craft brewery business has really taken a downfall. I spent 10 years in the alcohol business, so I can talk about that over a beer. Social media workshop, Instagram Reels, video editing, connecting accounts on March 6th at 11 a.m. via Zoom. And then upcoming tech and marketing training, social media workshop on the 6th, the 13th agent site customization around building your agent sites for free. And then the 20th is growing your farms with Focus Title and Peter Gossman. Now, in a tight market, when inventory is tight, Peter's going to share with you some tools that Focus provides him to help him manufacture listings on the 20th. I gotta turn this off, sorry. And then all of the resources are available to you on the kwrealtymke.com training calendar, conference rooms, listing network, marketing concierge, logos, as well as everything is recorded and put on the YouTube channel as well, so that you can rewatch if in case there was a nugget you wanted to gather. Cool. All right, training education, March training calendar is out. Lots of things to jump into, including Jay is teaching his CMA class, which is usually one of the most attended classes of the year. Pricing is going to become ever important. That is on the 19th. Ops Mastermind on the 26th. And tomorrow at 10 is the luxury listing training call. So achieving excellence in the standards of luxury with Brady Sandhall is tomorrow at 10 a.m. via Zoom. Carly, Homegrown Cappers. Anything you want to say about the group of homegrown cappers that meets on Tuesdays?
If anyone is interested in joining, we are still taking people. We just added 4 people within the last week. So if you're looking to grow your business and you're not in productivity, please let me or Michelle know.
Love it. We just ironed out a calendar where I'm going to be teaching the course or teaching homegrown cappers once a month through the rest of the year. And basically Carly consolidates 2 or 3 topics, and then I come and pour into the group for an hour. So there you go. Command 101 with Dana on Friday. Dana, anything the group needs to know?
No, just a lot of you have been coming to me saying you need help with your websites, landing pages, customization, basics. If you have admins on teams, you need help with it, bring them in. We're gonna do high-level smart plans, all the tech integrated all. So you get 90 minutes with me and we're gonna go into it deep. So please be there. Right in here? Yeah, right here in person.
All right, Opportunity Knocks is coming up on the 10th from 3 to 5. Interested in joining a team, interested why people join teams, interested in running a team or starting a team. You can learn from those that are already doing it, or if you're interested in joining a team, it's access to what it is that people offer and what you should be considering to help you increase your conversion rate. Because the reason why people join teams is they can make more money on the team than they otherwise would on their own. That's a you decision. I get asked that all the time. Should I join a team or not? Do you think you can do the increase of the conversion, or do you want to make the investment in a team? There's no right or wrong answer in that. So check it out on the 10th at the Zufari Conference Center. Matt?
Yeah, so again, another reminder, we've got a big trade show coming up at the end of the month. We've pitched this before as far as there's a lot of people that come and a lot of them are looking, they're typically buyers. So the more inventory we have, the greater chance we have to get interested and engaged parties looking at that. So we still have a few weeks left to try to motivate some additional listings. Not to say we don't get several leads there, but there's quite a few other land-only brokerages that are gonna be there as well. So last year it led to my Saukville 100-acre listing. And we just went live yesterday on a property in Crivets that came from the Getty winner. You can see Getty in the pictures, so we give that away 3 years ago at that trade show. So I'm selling his dad's, Ed and I are selling his dad's property. So good opportunity for us to get the word out. And if you have any opportunities, let us know. And then again, another reminder, have those opportunities for a listing lead, 30% referral.
Sweet. Mega Agent Camp's coming up in San Antonio, August 11th to the 14th. Be there, be square. It's not average camp, it's, thank you. All right, Defender Dawn.
So, quick update for you guys, this is good news. If you have clients who submit earnest money via trust funds, and then bad news, the transaction falls apart, they can have it returned via trust funds. So it used to be that if, no matter what, it was returned via check, but our office is joining the other KW Milwaukee office has been doing this for a while, so we're on board with that as well. As always, everything still needs to be submitted, approved, we're not just submitting it, so it's the same process. I have another slide with some reminders about some things that also need to be true. So the earnest money has to have been received via trust fund, so it can't be that they turned it in with a check and it's returned via trust funds, it has to be, it's like for like. The full refund amount has to go directly to the buyer, so this can't be split between two parties, it has to be that $1,000 was submitted, $1,000 is returned. And then when you're filling out a camera, instead of an address to put that on, or, you know, hey, the buyer's gonna pick up the check at the front desk, write return via trust funds, and that way we'll know that that's how they're being reimbursed. So that's what we got for that, pretty simple change, if there's questions, give a shout. Pretty straightforward though.
It works flawlessly. That was a beta test in January.
Nice.
I do.
Awesome.
Can I, quick raise of hands. How many people are using trust funds? Okay, can I tell you a fact? Only 25% of our transactions go through trust funds.
Really?
Yeah. The amount of fraud that happens through the US mail when people mail checks, or when people are like, God, I gotta go deliver this where? The trust funds make it so convenient. Something to think about.
Yep. And then I did hear from an I don't think he's in here. I heard from an agent the other day that said that he was showing a property to a soon-to-be client. And they had previously seen a property with an agent that they met through Zillow or Realtor.com or something where they clicked on a lead and got it. And they said, oh, that agent didn't make me sign anything before I showed the house. So just a reminder to you guys, we are professionals. Buyers know that they are supposed to be signing something before they see a house, either that pre-agency showing disclosure or a buyer agency agreement if you have a consult with them. So just a reminder, the public knows that we're supposed to be doing that, and you guys are all professionals. So let's show ourselves as professionals in the industry, explain to them, you know, reiterate to them that yes, they really that, you know, someone didn't have you sign that, they really should have. I know you guys are all pros, and so I probably don't need to remind you, but just a reminder that just continue to do the right thing. And that's what I got. Tony G.
Tony G. Greco, my realtor.
Yes.
Just a friendly reminder, what is the potential penalty
Oh,
if somebody if there's an audit and you cannot provide the appropriate documentation for those showings?
oh, Tony, that's a great question. Do you know the answer to it?
I don't, I'm looking.
Oh, okay.
at it
Well,
now.
I'll get the exact number for you. I
Put
don't
it this
remember what
way.
it is.
Let's not find out.
Let's not find out.
Well, I think,
It is,
$1,000.
yeah,
it-
We also need a buyer customer disclosure as well.
if they're writing an offer, yes.
Writing
If
it
they're
off.
showing on our listing.
If
I'm
they're,
under the impression that we also have to have a buyer customer disclosure if I'm showing an unrepresented buyer.
if they're writing an offer, so the pre-agency says that they haven't signed either a buyer agency agreement or a customer disclosure. So you can use that pre-agency disclosure if you're,
That buyer customer disclosure would be the third one, as opposed to just the pre-agency.
correct, yes, correct, yes, good point, yeah.
The reason why I was asking is, because we have had some pushback from typically cold leads coming in from Realtor.com or something
Yep.
like that. We're like, I've never had to sign anything before. And it helps to educate the consumer that, you know, not only is this for your protection, but
Yes.
also I could be fined thousands of
Yeah.
dollars and potentially lose my license. And I mean,
This is a big deal,
yeah.
I'm a
would be
professional.
Willing to take
Yes.
that risk, unfortunately.
yes,
So that might be. something
that's a
good.
great, I'll get that info for you, I'll put it in the Facebook group, but that's all I got today, so, yeah, oh yeah.
If you show the property and then they actually end up like writing that offer, do you want the pre-agency and the buyer or just the buyer agency?
So I think right now the pre-agency showing disclosure is an optional item in Command. I think it's nice to upload it so you don't have to think about where did that piece of paper go. So I think for your records, it's great to keep it there. But definitely the buyer agency agreement if you write an offer for them. Yep, great question. Cool, thanks.
Sweet. All right, I'm gonna jump through. the vision speech in 15 minutes, and I'm a high point everything you need to know. Also, all of this is available to you on the Agent Hub with kwrealtymke.com. These are all my personal notes, right, based on the conversation. If I were in your shoes, I'd be printing this and thinking about how the activities based on the information that's provided, the do it, delegate it, delete it exercise is very impactful based on what the data is telling us. Okay. So your job is to provide perspective and knowledge to your clients. If you can't provide perspective and articulate your knowledge, what do you have to offer? You have to be the voice of reason and truth for your communities, and it takes an expert to tell people how to move in this market. You must do the activities to make that happen, otherwise your business will look like the market. Okay? Basically what he's saying is you have to give perspective. You have to showcase your expertise. Otherwise, you know where your clients are getting their information? Twitter, Facebook, and the news. You know what I saw this morning? Real estate is in a bubble. Prices are down 33%. Listings are skyrocketing. You know what's not happening in southeastern Wisconsin? Any of that bullshit. So if you aren't controlling the narrative, other people are controlling it for your clients, which make your job harder. Okay. So home sales last year, basically 4.1 million transactional units. 33% of our units disappeared in the last 2 years. The floor was defined by who had to move. It did not get progressively better. And it was 2 years, the worst 24-month stretch in over 30 years. The good news is the floor is never zero because people have life events. And yet there's little motivation to fix it because we're the only industry in a recession. I'll talk about that here in a second. Home prices, what's interesting, if you look at the long-term appreciation trend of 4%, we last year were at 408,000. We're still above trend. And this year from 25 to 24, it's supposed to grow another 3%. So from a price appreciation standpoint, we're still 9.9% above the trend line of 4% long-term appreciation. We could have zero appreciation for the next 2.5 years and we could still be on trend line. That's how much appreciation has been had. We're getting closer. And remember this, because I've heard this a lot from people when they've served their clients. You might be at the top of the moment, but never at the top of the market. You might be at the top of the moment, but you're never at the top of the market. Remember, the average person transacts every 7 to 10 years. 7 to 10 years, all markets correct themselves within 5-year spans. So you might be at the top of the moment, but never at the top of the market. Don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Total market volume, here's some interesting factoids for you. 2023 volume is here in the purple line. NAR agent count is the blue dotted line, okay? If you look back historically during the 2007 to 2008 drop, we lost 140,000 agents in our business. And yet the challenge is last year we only lost 56,000 agents. So the challenge became we didn't see the attrition that we were expecting based off of the last market because last year was the third best year in total transactional volume because of the appreciation gains. So the challenge in it was agents on a per unit basis were making more money on a per unit basis than they ever have before, yet there were fewer transactional units, which is why we hammer home to you guys. We have to focus on units. We have to focus on units. We have to focus on units because you can't count on volume. To the extreme example that I used this morning with a group in Lake Country is you desire to dabble in luxury, but you don't want to be known in luxury. Why? Because if you miss 2 or 3 deals, which by the way, less than 8% of the deals in the marketplace are luxury. If you miss those 8% of deals, your swings on your income can be so dramatic. Focus on the bread and butter, which is transactional units. 92% of the industry in southeastern Wisconsin is less than 750,000. Okay. So you survived advanced. It was the 3rd best volume year, and we didn't see the mass exodus of agents we were expecting because transactional volume remains high. Inventory, Annual months of supply inventory, 6 months is a balanced market, which is the blue dotted line. Inventory is rising. And yet I would make the argument, and I'll look at this here in a few weeks with this group, is what's going on in southeastern Wisconsin. I actually think we're flatlining because I looked at it this morning. Units going under contract are outpacing the new units coming to the market, which means the market's compressing and it's going to get more competitive. Good news is for most of you, you've operated in markets that are highly competitive, and I'm gonna bet you're gonna start seeing things like we saw in 21 and 22.
Turn that one, plug in.
Yeah, we're gonna go fast. Slow, yeah. All my notes, do you? All my notes are available to you. Mortgage rates, okay? Historical average from 72 to 24 was 7.7%. Thank you. The historical average from 1990 to 2024 was 6%. Okay? Again, I talked about how perspective is important. Thank you, Carly. We are now starting to operate where we're working within the historical averages of where mortgage rates are. And you're starting to see people unlock their 3% mortgages because they're understanding that 6% is where 6% is. So no one wants to hear, well, back in my day in the 1980s, I bought a home at 16%. No, your job is to provide perspective. And the perspective is the long-term averages for mortgage rates is between 6 to 7%. We're operating within that space. Okay. And I think people are starting to realize it, which is why you're starting to see some things unlock. Here's real information for you as a way to provide an opportunity to get listings. 38% of homes are mortgage free. 76% of homes have more than 50% equity. We exist to bring perspective in order to help our clients understand the math. Okay. Equity, despite what rates are, can go towards buying down what the monthly average payment is. So despite the fact that they have 7%, if they gain 50% equity over the last 3 years, how can you help them unlock and move into that forever home? There's ways you need to be good stewards of how the math works in order for them to get what you do, or in order for their clients to get what you want, right? And it's helping them understand that math. The US economy, I mentioned it earlier, housing's the only thing in a recession, and that's true. 2.8% GDP growth in 2024. Okay. The economy is rock solid. It's very healthy. The Fed's goal is to keep people employed without money getting out of whack with normal growth, which is what happened last year. Inflation was right around 2.3%. Okay. Unemployment, 4% is a fully gainfully employed economy. People need to be employed in order to buy homes. It's healthy from a demand standpoint. Yet the challenge in it is personal savings rates have dropped substantially as this inflation has kind of gone unchecked for the last 3 years. So when you look at this, we have to a couple of good reminders. These are personal reminders. You have to live below your means to mitigate future disaster that will show up. You have to be serious about asset accumulation because you will never regret it. It's delayed gratification. And you have the opportunity to educate how the power of real estate has in building net worth. US events. Now, I flew through the economy stuff. Key takeaways: economy's healthy, people are gainfully employed, inflation's under control, housing's the only thing in a recession, don't expect relief soon. And yet people, because rates are normalized in that 6 to 7% range, people are understanding this is what they need to do to transact, and they have a lot of equity they can unlock in order to transact. So, US events. This is what I would consider to be your agent manifesto. Every activity I'd be focusing on, I'd be focusing around how do I structure my business in a way that I know I can win. Let me help you understand. 1, sides per agent. We have an equal opportunity business. That's why I say there's 40,000 transactional units in southeastern Wisconsin, and yet it's an unequal reward. A ton of agents have or did have their best year ever. Don't count on attrition for the reason as to why you have success, because only 56,000 left the business, less than what people expected. Okay. 2, volume per agent. The volume per agent metric is healthy. GCI won't determine your income. How you manage your expenses will. So I plopped in a little bit of an interesting little stat locally for us. Last year, the Metro MLS average for a GMAR associate was 5.5 closed units per agent. And it was like 2.9 million in closed volume. Across our KW MKE universe, the average associate closed 12.6 units and closed 5.15 million in volume. So the average KW associate versus the Southeastern Wisconsin averages were the average KW associate closed 112% more closed volume per agent and 80% more closed units per agent. We are a culture of productivity. The flywheel. Training and education leads to activities, activities lead to appointments, appointments lead to conversions, closings, so on and so forth. It's a culture of productivity. The longer you can stay in the game because of productivity, the more you can help unlock and to achieve your goals. Moving on within national data, listings with price drops. Here's what you need to know. January always sets the floor. Nationally, January of 23 was 9%. You can see where the floor was set for the remainder of the year. January of 24 was 24%. You can see where the floor was this year. Now, this is where I think this market, we have to insulate our perspective on just our market. January of 25, it was 31%. That's the floor. It will only go up from there. So as listing agents, you have to be very sharp with your pencils and making sure that you're giving sound advice based on the market of the moment. Otherwise, expired listings will continue to go up. New listings, again, January sets the floor. You can see January new listings in 23 and where the floor was, January of 24 and January of 25. The new floor for this year was listings are going up. That's actually okay and healthy. We need to alleviate some of the pressure on the demand side. New home starts, another way to alleviate inventory is just new home construction are now back to long-term averages, and new home sales are also back to long-term averages. So because we've gotten some inflationary pressures under control from a new construction standpoint, it's helped alleviate some of the inventory. Now, we have a dilemma though with student loan debt because we have to help people navigate their financial situations and be good stewards and be fiduciaries to help them understand how they can unlock the opportunity that residential real estate provides them. The challenge in it is last year, because loan debt has gone unchecked, first-time home buyers only made up 24% of all transactions last year, which is the lowest it's been in 50 plus years. We typically average around 40%. So my nugget for you is I think about what it is that you need to do to help create conversion is how do you help people structure their financial pictures in a way that they can understand how to unlock assets in real estate. Cost of insurance is going to continue to be an issue, and yet we have really good news. What do you notice about the Great Lakes region? This is non-renewal rates of home insurance. Incredibly healthy. Why? Low incidence of natural disaster and accessibility of fresh water continue to be substantial in terms of the assets in the Great Lakes. Something to pay attention to. I'm going to skip over this. We'll come back to this in a future meeting because I'm sensitive to your guys' time. Now, last thing for you. Here's the home profile of buyers and sellers in 2024. This should drive your activities. General themes, real estate's a contact sport. Never been a better year to be the economist of choice. I just looked at my Twitter this morning. Pricing's down 36%. The sky is falling. That's not true for us. Be the economist of choice. Tell your clients, let me tell you what's really going on. Let them view you as your asset and consider this. Leads. In the past year alone, 171 million leads were sold to agents. 171 million. Only 4.1 million transactions, which means if every lead converted, we would sell 43x more homes, or every home was sold 43x times. That's not the case. So what that also means is 76% of the US population over 18 was sold as a lead in 2024 when only 2% of the population transacted real estate. And yet when you consider most transactions involve two people, then you cut that number in half. Less than 1% of all leads that were sold across the US last year bought or transacted real estate. So real estate's a contact sport. 88% of times last year, a buyer had representation. People are telling you they are willing to pay you to help them navigate complexity. Value of website features. if I was thinking about my website, I'd be focusing on these top 7 things because the rest of this is a waste of time and money. What buyers want from their agent, they want to be educated, they want to slow down, and they want you to slow down enough for them to fully appreciate what you do, and they want to help them understand your service approach. And I would argue there's a fourth. They want to be communicated with. Communicate, communicate, communicate. How they found their agent, 78% of the time, they found them through these 3 ways. Referral, previously utilized, or they found them on their website or online presence. 78% of the time, a buyer found their agent through repeat referral, sphere of influence, or our website and online. People who avoid contact make less money. It's a fact. There's 171 million leads, only 4 million transactions. You can't ignore the fact that you have to be in the contact game. Buyer interviews, 75% of the time, buyers only interviewed 1 agent. 91% of the time, they interviewed 2 agents. If you're not first, you're irrelevant. Okay? People don't have the time or capacity to then say, Tony, Carly, I interviewed both. Let's see the positives and negatives. No. They're coming to you because they trust you, love you, and respect you to help them navigate it. And you did that by the 7 to 10 year time period in which that you communicated with them. The challenge is most of us don't communicate over that long of a period in order to create that conversion. Home is a financial asset. 80% of people still believe it's a good financial asset, and they have 35 times more net worth than a renter. I'm going to fly through this. 88% of the time, they said they would use their real estate again. Better odds than Vegas. Now, I'm going to switch to sellers quick. I'll finish with buyers and switch to sellers. Buyer satisfaction was 92%. And this was in a year that everyone wanted to talk about what it is, the value you provide and what you charged. 90% seller satisfaction in a year that everyone wanted to talk about the value you provide and what you charged. So how do sellers find their listing agents? Repeat referral and contacted by an agent was 70% of it. It's a communication game. Seller interviews, 81% of the time, they only interviewed 1 agent. 81% of the time. People don't have the time or capacity to interview more than 1 agent. They don't want to welcome you into their home on a Tuesday night, have to clean it up, make sure the kids are dressed appropriately. They're not being, whatever. The dog isn't, food all over the ground. They only want to have to do that once. And then once you're in, you got to ask for the sale. If you leave a listing appointment without the listing contract signed, you can effectively say you lost the listing. Okay. And if you lost the listing, use it as a feedback loop as to what you should have done differently in the next appointment. What sellers want from their agent, 4 areas cover 88% of seller desires. They want competitive pricing, marketing that attracts attention and drives to their timeline, and fixes to maximize value. If you think about your listing presentations, if you communicate that, you'll be effectively done. 87% of the time, they would use their agent again. Methods to use to sell a home, 90% of all transactions utilized an agent to represent their interests on the selling side. So I flew 2 minutes over 1 o'clock. A lot of content and data. What I tried to do is take a 2.5 hour presentation, give it to you in 15 minutes, and all of it with my notes is available to you on the Agent Hub on the website. The reason why I share this with you is you need to be thinking critically about how you operate your business and the activities you're doing and the feedback loops that you see so that you can effectively be a great agent. Because you can. 40,000 transactional units. There are people that are having success despite what the market gives them. And when you focus on your units, you will have success. Sound good? Yes. I apologize. That was a lot of information in a short amount of time. And I'll make sure that we continue to get it. Now, moving ahead in the next week or 2, I'll come back and I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing in Southeastern Wisconsin in January and February to give you guys the grocery store market of the moment script so that you have nuggets when you need to go pick up the gallon of milk and someone stops you at Quick Trip and says, tell me about what's going on, Taylor. Sound good? All right. I apologize, a lot to digest today, but all the information's relevant for you. I do it to make you think critically and we're here to help you win. Sound good? All right, guys. Thank you. Warp.
Category,